Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. This is Jessica, and I'll be sharing some regulatory updates dating from April 9th to 15. So actually the first one Anishmita just shared, so I can skip this one. And so the next article is a news from EMA, which is the European Medicines Agency. The EMA and the heads of medicines agencies, or HMA, has issued some new recommendations to strengthen the supply chain of radiopharmaceuticals, which is a critical class of medicines used in diagnosing and treating diseases like cancer. So the demand for these products is rising across Europe, but supply has been unstable due to limited manufacturing capacity, heavy reliance on imports of raw materials, and a complex and highly regulated supply chain. And some EU member states have already experienced shortages. So to address this, the EMA's Executive Steering Group on Shortages and Safety of Medicinal Products, or MSSG, has laid out a coordinated strategy. So some key recommendations include the first is to boost the EU's production capabilities through some initiatives like investing to modernize aging nuclear infrastructure and enhance reactor-based production. The second is to improve cross-border transport, which is currently fragmented, and it can be improved by harmonizing certification procedures and standards to ease the logistics. The third is mapping national supply chains and coordinating transport solutions to anticipate and manage bottlenecks. And last but not least is include new radiopharmaceuticals and horizon scanning so countries can sorry, predict future needs and avoid last-minute shortages. And the EMA also calls on manufacturers to proactively engage with regulators and report supply issues early. While the EMA and the MSSG can offer regulatory support to manage these shortages, they emphasize that long-term solutions require industrial policy changes, such as those proposed in the EU's Critical Medicines Act. Overall, these recommendations underscore the EU's commitment to ensure a resilient and sustainable access to critical medicines, especially as radiopharmaceuticals become more central to to modern medical care. So the next article is in the regulatory focus column on the RAPS website, which is published on the 15th. Industry stakeholders are urging the FDA to revise its draft guidance on managing AI-enabled medical devices. They argued that the current one-size-fits-all approach doesn't reflect the diversity in the complexity and risk among AI systems. The draft, which is released earlier this year, outlines marketing submission expectations for these AI-based medical devices. But two key industry groups, AdvaMed, which is the Advanced Medical Technology Association, and MDMA, the Medical Device Manufacturers Association, says that it focuses too heavily on complex systems like deep learning, while overlooking simpler models that don't need such rigorous oversight. And they recommend narrowing the scope to just complex AI, such as deep neural networks, and aligning this document with existing FDA guidances, like those covering basic software functions and cybersecurity to avoid duplicated requirements. So, for example, the guidance includes sections on cybersecurity and labeling that are already covered in other FDA documents, and MDMA and AdvaMed argue that integrating this guidance into the broader regulatory framework would enhance efficiency without sacrificing patient safety. And other groups also weighed in into the comments. The Combination Products Coalition wants clarification on how the guidance applies across the product life cycle, especially for combination products. Meanwhile, the American College of Radiology asked for a clearer post-market monitoring expectations. And then the American Medical Association offered support, saying that this guidance increases transparency and improves physicians' confidence in AI tools. So in total, the FDA received 46 comments before April 7th. And industry's consensus is that FDA's AI oversight needs to be more nuanced, risk-based, and better aligned with existing frameworks before moving forward. So the last article is also from the REP's website. So on April 14th, the Trump administration launched a formal investigation into whether the US's reliance on imported drugs and active pharmaceutical ingredients or APIs poses a threat to national security. The Department of Commerce, or the DOC, through its Bureau of Industry and Security, is leading the probe under Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act of 1962. This law allows the president to impose tariffs or other trade restrictions if imports are deemed a national security risk. And the DOC is now seeking public feedback on 10 key areas, including the current and projected demand for APIs and drug products, the US's capacity to meet that demand, and the influence of foreign manufacturers and subsidies. And this move follows border concerns raised during the COVID-19 pandemic, when the supply chain disruptions revealed how dependent the US is on foreign pharmaceutical manufacturing. Although a 10% blanket tariff was recently announced for most imported goods, pharmaceuticals were initially exempted. However, the administration has indicated that drug-specific tariffs may be introduced later, depending on the investigation's outcome. And stakeholders have until May 7th to submit comments to the DOC, and the outcome of this investigation can reshape how the US manages its drug supply chain, with potential consequences for pricing, for access, and manufacturing policy. And these are all for my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Any comment, feedback?